And well, I liked it because it was, I think every time I have been in love and it hasn't worked out, there's always a place in me that thinks maybe one day it will. And I think it's a way of holding on to those precious feelings. So when it happened that way in the movie, it was a way of tidying things up like that.
Yeah, also for me, it was
Oh.
I could leave the room even.
I think that there are pros and cons. I think that the advantage is that the director is extremely intimate with the work and knows exactly what it is he's trying to express. And there's like a direct line between the words, the affect, and what he hopes to get. The disadvantage is that because it's so clear in the director's mind what he wanted as he sat writing it that afternoon, because I embody a face, a body, a soul, a heart, and 30 years of experience, I will bring something that is either more or less than what he'd fantasized one day. So I think that those are the boundaries and the expanses of that sort of situation. So I don't think that I wouldn't say, if I were given a script and told that the director was the writer, I wouldn't enter the project feeling like, oh, that's going to be tough. I would feel like it was both good and bad. And the same is true with the directors that haven't written the original script. Sometimes I think you can get perhaps a more objective view when the director hasn't written the script because they're not emotionally involved. Let's see, we made the film September through December in Chicago, and my agent called me up on a sunny day in June and said, you know, we have a script here. It's called All the Sad Young Men. CBS is doing it. Come and pick it up. I mean, these were the days where I would go pick it up. Pardon? They didn't send the script. That's right.
It was those days, right?
Those days. So I got on my bicycle and got the script and came home and had the luxury of reading it front to back, which is really the only way to read a script, and found it very moving. And so I had just a meeting, and then with Army and Alan and who's Alan Greisman, who's the producer, and then I was asked to read, which I did, and then I was told that I would be brought back in a couple of weeks to read with an actor, and in 2 weeks' time, I then had an audition with John, who was also being considered, and then I had another audition in Los Angeles. This went on for like 3 months. The third audition was in Los Angeles when I was out there trying to get a job, and then when I went back to New York after the third audition, I was then asked to come back to LA again to screen test. And I screen tested, and that night I knew that I got the part. So I had to work for this part. No. Well, making Indiana Jones was not fun. It's not what I would call fun, anyway. It was very hard work, and I was in England, so I wasn't, at home, and even though I had my daughter there, it was a location environment, which is very difficult, and uh, I think that watching it is, if you like those kind of movies, watching is certainly more fun than making it. In terms of, I feel very fortunate that the 4 movies that I did were all so very different. I think that it would be hard to typecast me in a very broad way. Certainly, I bring to each character who I am, so there are consistencies. Um, I would like, pardon? In which character?
Emily.
Yeah?
Something.
I think I would most like to be someone like Emily. I don't think we get to see Emily at a pajama party, in which case she'd probably act a little more like Willie Scott in her finer moments, just out of play. And we don't get to see her working, so she would maybe act a little more like the woman in Dreamscape. But I'm actually interested in stories. It's not enough to just work with famous directors. It's not enough to just work in movies that you know will make great box office. It's not enough to work with fabulous leading men. What I've learned is that the most important part of the work is the story and what your character contributes and how interesting that can be at a given time in your professional life, in your personal life. Nothing. Yeah, someone else asked me that. Truly, I feel very fortunate to have worked with 4 of the great, in my opinion, leading men. They're all extremely different. John was like a buddy, he's like very brotherly in a way. And so we were very comfortable that way. John was like my older brother in that relationship. Dennis was like my younger brother in that relationship. Dudley was like, he was a little bit like a father. And yes, I told him this. I prepared him.
Father Lee.
Father Lee. And Harrison was the most different of all the leading men. Dudley, Dennis, John, they all have a wonderful brotherly, accessible kind of personality. Harrison is the older brother who you cannot get him to pay any attention to you. And it is not because he doesn't love you. It's because he's just older. The relationship that took place between Indiana Jones and Willie was actually very similar to Harrison and I, in that we both are extremely fond of each other and infatuated on different levels. But I'm too stubborn and he's too stubborn, and but I wasn't uncomfortable. The first week I was very uncomfortable. I took it all personally, but then I found out that that's just the way he is.
So with that and the fact that you found it very difficult playing that part, and you said it's more difficult to do that, was that the hardest part you've done so far?
Well, it was the most grueling in terms of the schedule. I find that each part is difficult for a different reason. Willie was I was slowest to warm to Willie. I really had to overcome. In other words, like if you're going to be remembered as a character, you'd be likely to want to be remembered as Emily, because it's not hard to love Emily. And I was concerned from an egotistic point of view that I would be perceived as Willie, and I wasn't like Willie, so it was hardest to warm to her. But then when what sort of movie we were making. Then it was like an opportunity to be a caricature of all the women I've always, just wondered where they came from.
Les acteurs avec qui j'ai joué sont tous très différents. Et si on prend les 4 derniers films qui sont sortis cette année, avec John Shea dans Windy City, c'était comme un copain, une sorte de grand frère. Avec Dennis Quaid dans Dreamscape, c'était, si vous voulez, le petit frère. Avec Dudley Moore, un peu comme un père. Et avec Harrison Ford dans Indiana Jones, c'était très différent. C'est une sorte, au début, je pensais que c'était un grand frère qui ne s'intéressait pas tellement à vous. Mais en fait, on s'aime beaucoup, on est tous les deux extrêmement têtus. Et la première semaine a été très inconfortable pour moi, mais après,